Hi, this is Joe Peters from MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network and the Her Network at the Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Single TV app in the respective iOS and Android device app stores. While you are downloading, make sure that you rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Singa TV is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick in all smart TVs. And if you are not following me, your host Joe Peters on Instagram and Facebook, go to at Joe Unicorn Coach and follow me. I handle personally my social media handles. If you have any question, any doubt, any topic, any theme that you would like support in this marathon of motherhood, DM me there. And if I don't know the answer, I will find an expert like Chanelle to come to the show so we can do this together. Remember, you are never alone. I am really, really excited to have Chanelle here today. One of the things that I love is I ask all my female guests to give me a phrase. And since I read the phrase, I knew we were going to have an amazing time because her phrase is done is perfect, than done is better than perfect. And uh, Chanelle is a life coach that helps moms to find themselves creating habits of daily self care without leaving their families behind. She is a mom of five, superhero. Chanel knows motherhood has challenges, and that is why she's passionate about helping moms to simplify how they can make a priority on what it matters for them and define success for themselves. She is a former host and creator of popular Moms Who Know podcast and the author of Parents Who Know, which has been translated into Chinese and is currently host of Mom's Life Made Simple podcast. Chanel, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom. And let's gonna just start with a little bit of your story of how you move from being a superhero mom of five to saying, I need to help other moms. And we will go from there.
Okay, sounds great. Well, I am excited to be here and to dive in. So, it really, for me, I have four kids in 6 years. And so, those early days of motherhood for me were exhausting. They were all kids all the time. I just had one kid after the other. And I found myself really overwhelmed a lot of the time, really stressed out, just zero time for myself. But like most moms, I just went with it. That's what we're doing, right? That's motherhood. That's what it's like, especially with having a lot of kids. And so I continued just being in this space until I started to get sick. I had some physical symptoms. I went to the doctor, and the doctor looked at me, ran a bunch of tests, ran some blood work, and saw that my stress was very high. And he said, well, your problem is stress and you need to find a way to calm down. And I was not happy with that diagnosis. I was kind of irritated. Of course, duh, right? Of course it's stress. Do you see these kids here with me in the doctor's office? That's that was no surprise to me, but I didn't know how to fix it. And so really my own journey of finding ways to de-stress and to find time for myself is what led me to helping other moms. I podcasted for a long time and noticed this trend that I wasn't the only one feeling that overwhelm, that stress. And so it just kind of naturally led to me helping moms use the solutions that I had found for myself.
Thank you so much. And I think that that's so true, right? Because it's one of those moments where they're like, well, yeah, you are like I one very similar to that was when I was working with my workout coach. One of the first things was like, well, you have to sleep 8 hours. You have to sleep 8 hours to have the good results. And I was like, I have a toddler that is still breastfeed and don't sleep through the night. So that is not a reality. Like, get your stress down. Well, my honey, Please tell me how, because it's not that easy. And I love how you are being able to use what help you and was useful for you and work for you, and then start sharing with others. Let's gonna talk a little bit about your phrase. I always love to ask why you pick that phrase. Your phrase is "done is better than perfect." Why that is the phrase that you decide to pick, and what that means to you.
Yeah, so it kind of goes along with what you just said about a personal trainer telling you to sleep 8 hours. That's the ideal. That's what we're going for. Sleep 8 hours a night. Get time to ourselves. Have these wonderful self-care, low stress activities. But in all reality, as moms, we cannot it doesn't look the same for us when we have babies, when we have toddlers, even when we have teenagers, which I have now coming in late at night. They're keeping us up. Things just don't always work out exactly picture perfect, but we can still set standards for ourselves and figure out, okay, what am I going to do to have this minimum of self-care? And so done is better than perfect to me means that I'm going to put things into practice so that I still get those self-care practices that I need, even if I have to shrink them down. One example of that is this morning as we're recording this, I'm on the West Coast. It's California time. We started pretty early my time. And so I have a morning routine that I do, but I didn't want to get up an hour earlier to do my morning routine. And so I still did it, but I shrunk it down into a really bite sized, manageable piece. I was able to still get it done, still get what I need without having a perfect morning routine where I did everything, have this amazing long hour to myself. And it's finding that balance as a mom of getting what you need in the right pieces in and letting a little bit be enough.
I love that. And as a perfectionist in recovery, one of the things that I want to talk with you is how moms can start using that muscle. Because I think that perfectionist is for all genders, but especially for moms, society, generational constraints. I actually have a hypothesis, and that is that because we get pregnant and our body knows that the baby needs to get to full term perfect until it's 9 months to survive, we are more likely to get into that obsession of it needs to be perfect. So what you can tell moms, pregnant moms, new moms that are in the fourth trimester, or even toddlers or teenagers that are watching this show, because again it's like, yeah, I don't want to be perfect, but then how I can get to the point that Chanel is that go from all or nothing. I either have one full hour of self-care in the morning, or if I have to do a show then I have to skip, to what you did, and is find a balance and say I can have both. I just need to be flexible with the way that I approach it. So what are some of your tips and secrets there to help us to get over that perfectionist virus that somebody sometimes take over us?
You're so right that so many women are dealing with this. It is really common to have this all or nothing mentality. And so I think the first thing that I would say is to really think about what matters, to get very, very clear on what matters to you in life, what matters. And if you think about it, there's not going to be like one little thing. For example, I just recently did this exercise with a coaching group. What did you do yesterday that is going to matter in 5 years from now? You can think about that. Probably not much, right? Not much. There wasn't much. Yesterday wasn't any special day that had all this important stuff that really mattered. Even a year from now, you probably won't remember what you did yesterday. But here's the thing, what if you had something that you did every single day? For me, one of those things is yoga. I do yoga every single day. Now, this morning, I just did it for 5 minutes. But in a year from now or 5 years from now, can I look back and say that the habit of yoga mattered and is still affecting me today? Absolutely, right? I've had that habit for 10 years now, and just doing a little bit every day matters. And so I think understanding, okay, what matters? And then what can I do repeatedly over and over? And that's where this idea of letting go of perfection comes in. Because if I say, well, unless I do an hour long yoga class, it doesn't count. And that's what we often do to ourselves. I have to do the whole thing or else it doesn't count, versus the habit is what counts. So even if all I do today is a couple of cat cows and a down dog, if that's enough to keep the habit, then we're able to say, okay, we're able to be a perfectionist about keeping the habit, keep the habit, but let go of the constraints of it has to be a certain length of time. It has to be, all of these things that we want it to be. And to me, that's how you let go of perfectionism. You say, it's not about the one day, it's about the pattern, it's about the habit, it's about creating something in my life that allows me to do it over and over and over again.
I love that and make me think of yesterday. I'm going to be 40 in September. And last October, I had this goal of how I want my body to look like. And yesterday, I was in the gym working out and I look in the mirror and I was like, I'm not going to reach that goal. It's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks from my birthday. But then it was exactly what you said. I was able to use exactly the tool that you said. And was like, okay, is this going to be part of that all or nothing? Of say, okay, I didn't reach my goal. Then what the heck? I'm going to just stop working out and go and have all the cake and the ice cream until my birthday for the next 3 weeks. Or I can adjust and say, I am a lot better and I'm a lot closer and readjust that expectation. Janelle, one thing about this that I think that goes very linked with the perfectionist, and that is mommy guilt, mommy shame, and that BS that I call them rules, garbage rule that we learn from our grandmas, that in order for me to be a good mom and love my children, they all have to be first. They need to be the priority. And then I am the, like the book, the giving tree that is always last, that is the one that eat the food cold. How we can start changing that chip on one of your um, flag themes in what you teach moms that I know, and is you teach moms that time for yourself actually help you to be a better mom, not
Yeah.
a worse mom. So let's gonna talk a little bit about that. That is fascinating.
Yeah, and it's so true. So the Giving Tree, I'm glad you brought up that book, because look at that tree. If you don't know the story, this tree starts out as this beautiful tree, right, and ends up as a stump. It ends up as a sad stump sitting there. And I think we have this idea of motherhood that we need to give everything until there's nothing left. And I think it's the opposite. I think we need to give and then we refill. We give and we replenish so we have more to give, so that we don't end up a stump, but we keep growing as a tree that can give more and more, right? And so to me, the way to do that is, again, like we talked about with the idea of perfectionism, it goes back to getting at the root. So defining your own success. What is it that matters to you in motherhood? If you know that, it's very easy to let go of guilt. So for me as a mom, it doesn't matter to me if I watch, and this might sound crazy to some of you, so take a deep breath, but it doesn't matter to me if I watch every one of my kids' sports practices. Don't care. Like, sports are not really my thing. If I go to my kids' sports practices, if I'm the one driving them, and I need to stay there, sometimes you'll find me walking around the field or reading a book. I see other parents sitting there, just watching those sports practices. And I have decided that's not what is important to me. That's not the place that I'm going to connect. That's not how I define my success as a mom. And so I am able to let go of that guilt for not doing it the way other moms do, because that doesn't matter to me. Now, what does matter to me? It matters to me a lot that I read to my kids. I love to connect and read out loud to them, and we've had great experiences reading books all throughout my kids' childhoods. My youngest is 6 right now, and we're reading Harry Potter, and that's so much fun. We sit there and read. It matters to me that I am available for them for conversation, even when I'm tired. I'm a morning person, I'm not a night person, but when my teens want to talk to me at night, I stay up, I talk to them, I listen, we have that conversation, even though I would rather be in bed, right? That's more my time schedule. But that's how I define my success. So I'm able to let go of guilt about the things that don't matter because I've determined in my head what matters. I'm not letting other people decide that for me. You know what else doesn't matter to me? Big birthday parties. That's a thing people feel a lot of pressure around, right? Other parents do it. We have these great big birthday parties. But for me personally, not what I care about. And it's okay to decide your own race, to figure out where you're going. Once you do that, that guilt kind of falls away because I can say, "Oh, well, that doesn't matter to me, but here's what does. Here's where I'm gonna focus my energy and attention." But it comes from a very conscious decision. If we don't sit back and make that conscious decision, it's really easy to let all the pressure of watching the sports practices and doing the big birthday games just kind of carry us away. And it's very easy to feel guilty about those things.
I know. I love how you are saying, and you know what? Thank you for being so authentic and unapologetically and saying, "Hey, sports are not my thing. I don't care." Because that is what we need to normalize with moms to say it is okay to not be that movie mom that does everything perfect and go to every single activity and all of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. One of the things that inspired me, and probably you have a lot more experience and practice on this than me with your teens, but something happened this week, and that is a few months ago. I even have a social media post about it. My kid was sick, and I was the one that canceled everything. I was the main caregiver. And then in the room, I start feeling resentful. I'm like, why by default is always me? Like we both are parents. So back forward to this week, Tuesday, my baby was no Wednesday. Anyway, one day my baby was sick, and then my husband was like, we have an appointment to take him at 5. And then I was able to see all that. And I was like, well, I have a workout, and you know that my workouts are important for me. So you take him. My husband was like, okay. Well, Chanel, I went, and this is the part that I want to inspire moms that is a journey. It's not a thing that you just stop doing it. And then when you struggle, that doesn't mean that it's not working. It means that you need to have patience. I find myself in the middle of the workout checking my phone, telling my husband like what the doctor said, and then I did another round, and then it's like, oh, he didn't gain weight, and I did another round, and I did it like 2 or 3 times until I caught myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's as capable as me as a parent. I am working out. If he needs me, he's going to call me. And I just turn my phone off and finish the workout. But it was interesting to see that pattern coming back even when I make the decision. So I love how you are showing that what I'm hearing you to say is be unapologetically about what is important for you to do with your kids to have. And then from there, put your boundaries. One with the birthday parties that it was Gil mom for because my baby's only 2 years old. The stupid thank you cards. Like I still hear my mother-in-law from the first birthday giving me like, you are not sending thank you cards, like handwriting cards. And then last week another mom sent me a picture, like an online picture saying, hey, thank you for coming. Kennedy loved her gift. And I was like, this is brilliant, super easy, super fast. So I love, love, love how you are saying that you are allowing moms to understand that they have permission to have that time for themselves. Now, when they have that time for themselves, how that make them a better mom so they can actually, if the little voice says, oh, you are a bad mom, you are putting yourself first, you are selfish, what you can share with them to put in the other side to say, no, this is actually making me a better mom, because I know that
Yeah.
that is something that you teach.
Yeah, it is. And it is a voice that you'll hear. I think the first thing is to know you're going to hear that voice. That's going to come up. And so prepare for it in advance. Say, okay, what having this conversation is so important for that reason. So you have an answer so that when you hear that little voice, oh, you're a bad mom. Oh, you're so selfish. You can say, actually, little voice, I am here to be a better mom. I am working out so that I will be strong to pick up my baby and to go run and hike with my baby when he's older. Whatever the answer is, whatever it is that you're doing. And this is an interesting thing. I think that we need to look at that voice, just look at it straight on and see, does it have anything to teach us? If it's saying you're a bad mom, have a conversation with it. I mean, this sounds crazy, but this is what I teach my clients to do. If the voice says you're a bad mom, then say, you know what? Am I a bad mom? Where's your evidence? Well, because you're here working out. Hey, I have been with my child for the last 23 hours straight, and I'm taking 1 hour out of my day to work out. Does that mean that I'm a bad mom? Well, don't give it legs. Once you actually answer the voice, once you have that conversation, you can see very clearly, and that voice, which is, that part of you, can see very clearly also. Um, on the flip side of that, if that voice says, you're a bad mom and you're so selfish, and you say, no, I'm not, I've only been on a cruise by myself for the last 2 months, whatever, that voice will say, actually, that's way too long, go back to your kid. You can kind of have this conversation and recognize in yourself, like, where am I going wrong and where am I going right? And you'll start to see what happens often, that guilt leads to shame. You mentioned guilt and shame. And what happens is we hear that voice, you're such a bad mom, and we internalize it. We go, oh, yeah, I am a bad mom. Because the truth is, none of us are going to be as good of a mom as we want to be. It's impossible. We want so much for these little ones, or big ones in my case, that have been entrusted to our care. We want to do so good, and we're never going to quite live up to the perfect mom that we hope to be. But if we can look at this perfectionist ideal in the face and call it out, then we'll see, that that's okay for us to have time. Now, really quickly, because that's sort of a different question than what you asked, which is, how does it make us a better mom to have time for ourselves? Well, I talked earlier about the idea of refilling your cup, of not being the giving tree that we get down to nothing left to give. These moments of self-care, whether it's exercise or journaling or going outside and just seeing the sunset, time to ourselves is huge as a mom. Even if it's just a little bit, those are the things that replenish us so that we're not going down to nothing. When I find myself just with nothing left to give, I'm not a very nice mom. I'm like, leave me alone, go to bed. I've had it. This is enough. Contrast that to the mom who has gotten up and journaled and done some yoga and had a little time to herself. Then when I see my kids, I'm like, I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad you're mine. This is going to be a good day. I'm a whole different person in that second scenario.
I love that. And one of the things that I am grateful that you were so kind to reframe and make sure that everybody hears. We're having a rainbow color right now. I
Yes, I
love
like
it.
it.
Is And then there's so many people, and especially males and things, that label those voices. Oh, the devil voice. And I love how you were very clear into stating the voice had a purpose. And in our case, that voice is trying to make sure that you take care of your babies. So I love your analogy of question it. If it's different, well, that's not true. But if you are spending I love that, 2 months in a cruise, and your 9-month-old baby is at their grandparents, well, it's time to listen to the voice. So I love that you bring that. Thank you so much for that, because that is something that will help all moms to feel empowered into. First, there is nothing wrong with you. Second, there is nothing wrong with the voices. Third, the voices are there as a protection mechanism for you and your family and your kids. And then the key that I hear you saying is part of you to start working with the voices. So don't try to kill the voice, stop hearing the voice, disappear the voice. Start saying, hey, Come on, let's gonna talk. Let's gonna chat. I want to understand a little bit more about what you are saying. That is fascinating. Thank you so much. Now, I will be completely honest. I barely have time with one. So I don't even know how you do it with five. Let's gonna talk with the moms, especially moms that are in a transition, either first time moms or two under two or transitioning to high school, college, where that water start feeling that is getting over our nose, and then we're saying, I don't have enough time. I would love to do yoga, Chanel. I would love to go work out in the gym, Joe. I do not have much time. I know that you were talking in one of the things that you say is that it's not about how much time you have, it's about making count what you have. So
Yeah.
how these moms that are overwhelmed with the time constraint can find hope in a little clear vision into what they can do that is in their hands, under their control.
Yeah. One of the ways that I teach this that I think is the best way to start is with a morning routine. Now, I get a little pushback on this because of what we talked about earlier. We're tired. We want to sleep. I'm not getting 8 hours as it is. My kid's waking me up. But what I recommend is getting up just 10 minutes earlier, starting with a 10-minute routine. 10 minutes when it comes to sleep, we know, is not that much. It's not that big of a deal. So when are you normally waking up? When is your kid waking up? Another alternative is to ask if you have a spouse that can help, ask your spouse to help with whatever in the morning for 10 minutes so that you can just start with a, a break, starting with yourself. And that's very powerful because starting with yourself is really symbolic, right? There's symbolism there. If you get up and take a little time for yourself, then you have so much more to give throughout the day. So what I recommend is a morning routine. Now, what goes in that morning routine is really personal, but the biggest thing is, what do you need? What is it that you're missing throughout your day? So back when I had the four kids and they were, six down to newborn, and I was just so stressed out, and the doctor said, "Okay, you need to find a way to de-stress." I thought, "Okay, how can I realistically do this?" And I decided for me, it was yoga. And so I would get up about 10 or 15 minutes before my kids, and I would literally put on socks and creep down the hall, because if the baby hears you, if someone hears you, they're like, "Oh, it's morning, mom's up, let's go have a party." And I did not want that to happen. And so I would creep down into a room, quietly shut the door, and just do a yoga video on YouTube in the office all alone. And what I thought was helpful, and it was the yoga, the deep breathing, the stretching. But what I realized after some time had gone on, what really helped me, what I really needed at that point in my life, was alone time. That was the only time in the whole day that I was getting time to myself, uninterrupted. And as the kids got older, I put a sign on my door that said, it actually had a picture and it said, "Yoga in progress." I educated them, when this sign is on the door, you can't come in. That's time for mom. And when we had one that was still young enough that needed help, I did exactly what I was saying to do. I enlisted my husband's help. So that's what I started with. I've since added to my morning routine, but the key is, right now I've got kids 20 down to 6. And so they kind of let me do my thing in the morning. But the key has always been, yes, I've got this big thing that I could do. So I've got a whole hour-long morning routine, but I can shrink it if I'm on vacation, if I don't feel good, if I overslept, if I'm going on MomFit with Joe Peters, whatever the case may be, I can just shrink that down and get a little bit in for myself of what it is I need in the morning.
I love that, and I would love for everybody around the world that are watching us right now to reach out to both Chanel and me in our social medias and share how these make you feel empowered. Because what we are talking and what Chanel is sharing is allowing you to feel that you actually have control over your life. Because I think that is one of the most fragile moments in our journey as moms, and is when we feel sometimes completely powerless, like I don't have any choice, I don't have control over my time, I am feeding machine for my baby that's still breastfeeding, or my baby's not sleeping. And even knowing that you may not have much control for 12 hours, but you can control 10 minutes,
Yeah.
will give you back that sense of empowerment of it is my life, and then I can make changes. And
Yeah.
one thing that I love, and I never thought about it, and when you were thinking about like, I'm gonna start tracking the difference, is how beautiful you said, because I was like, I'm one of those. Like I try, like for the last 2 years, I decided I will only going to learn and be coach and work with females because of female energy. But before that, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for a while I was in the 5 a.m. club, and I resented so much. I was like, I'm not a morning person. But then you changed my mindset and reframe it with the part where you said is a symbolic action that you are starting with yourself, which is what we always preach. We always say, put your oxygen mask first, take care of yourself first. So even that of making sure that you make a symbolic action every day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, saying, I am starting with me. I'm starting to taking care of me is just so powerful. Thank you so much. I also love how kind you were, because in the masculine energy is very easy, and we see it all the time. Oh, this is the equation for success in the morning routine. You have to do this for how long, and this for how long, and go on hot shower and go on cold shower. Love how you embrace that female energy and say you need to ask, what do you need, and listen to that. So you are not checking a checklist that match somebody else's expectations, but you are able to anchor yourself into what I really need, what I'm getting low into. It is a stress, it is connection. I will tell you one that even now I struggle. My birthday, my 40th birthday is in September. I even went back and forth about I'm going to Bali to celebrate with my family, but I also want a little celebration with some of my friends here that are not going to go with me. And I went back and forth because I was like, I feel guilty not having my baby in the celebration here. But then I was like, but if we have babies, and all my friends had also two, three, four, five babies, I said, like, if we have babies, we will not be able to celebrate and connect as adults because we are going to have 20 kids to take around. And that feeling of, I love what you said, like what I need. And then I'm like, even if I feel a little guilt about it, what I need is I need time with my girls. I need time to talk about girl stuff. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little dinner with my friends. I love how you are putting that part. And one of the last topics, and I think that this is probably one of the most critical ones, is habits and what it takes for us to make something a habit. Because I see it all the time, and I saw it yesterday when I was working out. Is because I was thinking about I didn't meet my expectation of what I want to be. I still have a little bit of that voice of saying like, well, this is a lot of work and we're not having the results, so let's gonna not do it. When when we know that is a habit, and how we make sure that it's part of who we are, so we do it no matter what as we brush our teeth, and how we are realistic into habits are not happening overnight, how we can do that.
Yeah. Okay. So there's something that I teach that I think would be really powerful here to get into, which is called the range of possibilities. And what that is taking this thing you want to do. And so I've talked about yoga a lot today. We'll go back to yoga. Let's say you want to create a habit of yoga. Well, most of us don't want to create a habit of one yoga pose. That's not, we don't think, oh, I want to do yoga. I want to just do one down dog. No, we want to do yoga. We want to go and do an hour of yoga, right? But the habit, when we take whatever that is, yoga, and we say, okay, this is the ideal, the range of possibilities, my maximum, what I want to do is an hour of yoga every day. But the minimum, what I would do if I only had a few minutes, I would do two yoga poses. And we say that minimum is enough. The range of possibilities is the minimum to the maximum, whatever that looks like, but we allow that minimum to be enough. And then on our busiest days, on our worst days, on our sick days, on the days when our baby, we set our alarm 10 minutes early and then our baby got up 15 minutes earlier, on those days when we still do a couple of yoga poses, that is how you create the habit. Now, in actual habit, so that's the range of possibilities. That allows us to shrink our habits. That's key. That's the most important key, I would say, because any habit that you want needs to be that simple. There's a book by BJ Fogg called Tiny Habits, and he gives a formula, and the formula is trigger, tiny habit, reward. Now, we just made that habit very tiny by shrinking the thing that we want to do. We made it into a tiny habit. But the trigger is, what is the thing that happens before the habit? So, in my case, when we're talking about morning routines, I wake up. As soon as I wake up, I am going to go and do my morning routine. That's the trigger. Maybe your trigger is going to be, we already have this happening in our lives all the time. Maybe your trigger right now is, as soon as I come in, I turn on the lights and I hang up my purse. You hang it in the same place every day. We've got these trigger habit things happening in our lives, but the trick is to do them intentionally. So we want to create a habit of something. We say, what am I already doing? Well, I'm already putting the baby down for a nap, or I'm already driving my kids to school. So immediately after I drop off the kids at school, I am going to sit in my car and take 10 deep breaths or do a meditation in my car. That's my trigger before I go back home and do all my chores and whatever else I'm going to have to do. That idea, and let me touch on his last thing, which is reward. As soon as you've done it, you say, yes, I did that. Or you smile, or you pat yourself on the back, or you do a little dance, whatever it is for you that makes you feel like, yes, even though it was that tiny, I accomplished something. So, those are the two parts of creating a habit that really sticks. One is shrinking it down, the range of possibilities. You give it room to grow. There's always room to go and do that full yoga class if the circumstances allow. But even if you don't get to that, you still have the habit of doing just a little bit. And that's important. And that mental shift of saying that counts as a habit just as much as if I did the big, full on yoga practice. And then you use a trigger, something to get you there. So, whatever you're doing that tells you, oh, it's time to start my yoga. You do your yoga or whatever habit it is, and then you let yourself feel good. You give yourself the reward in the moment of feeling good, even if and especially if it was just a tiny bit.
I love that, especially for busy moms, because it's also helping us to reward the concept that it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be a mountain to climb. We can start activating that trigger habit reward all the time. And like any muscle in the gym, as more you do it, as more strong the muscle is, as more the muscle grow. One of the things that I love that you said, I was talking with my coaching group yesterday evening about it, and is going back almost full circle with the beginning of the episode with the all or nothing, and that is, I believe that one of the reasons why it's challenging to create habits is because we skip your equation. So it's like, oh, I want to make a habit of eating healthy. So I move from eating a lot of non-supportive foods for the last 2 months to starting Monday, I'm going to have only supportive foods, veggies, and go into fat burning. That is a huge change to accomplish and to get homeostasis back. No
Yeah.
wonder why by Tuesday, Wednesday, your entire system is rejecting. The same with, for example, yoga. If last time that I moved my body was 10 years ago, then I say, oh, I'm gonna make a habit of doing 1 hour of hot yoga every day starting Monday. Well, sister, good luck with that and your body not completely giving you a strike after Wednesday. So I love how you say, okay, part of the key of defining your success is also understanding those milestones and having tiny little bits to create momentum.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I remember my one of my mentors many years ago talking about the Japanese culture, she was saying, if I ask you to do 10 things today, and of the 10 things you did one very good and the other nine you didn't do them or you did them wrong, in your brain, I'm going to have a lot better result if I praise you for the one that you did good and say, wow, that was amazing. I love how you did that. It was so helpful. Thank you so much. That if I said, like, oh my God, I give you 10 things and you only did one, that is only 10% of the work. What the heck? If I praise one of the nine, next day, the chances of you to do two and the next day three, and very soon you doing the 10 are a lot higher than if I'm concentrated on the ones that you didn't did. And I think that that match very good with that part of the micro habit. And I love what you said, the reward, the celebration, the accomplishment of I did it.
Yeah.
Janelle, one other thing that I was thinking about as we were talking, and that is how we can lead by example and at the same time start planting these seeds and teaching our children this since they are kids so they don't have to learn it at our age watching a TV show 30 years from now. So,
Yeah.
how we, I know we first start with us, but how we can start making that puddle um, butterfly effect with our children so they can start learning some of these key tactics and habits and things for life.
That's such a good question because we want to, especially for our daughters, right? Especially because a lot of this is something that a lot of women struggle with. And so the more we model this, that it's okay for women to take care of themselves, the more our daughters are going to see that as the normal thing, that that's what we do. And I think a part of the way that we do that is creating boundaries around our time. So just like I talked about earlier, even with my very young kids, I had a sign on the door. This is what mom's doing right now. I also would have one of the things that as my morning routine grew, I like to read scripture in the morning. And I would be reading scripture, and the kids would come out and talk, want to talk to me. And I would first say, "Oh, mom's reading her scriptures," and then they would usually pause and then start talking again. And then the next time, I wouldn't say anything. I would just put my finger to my lips. And if they talked again, every time it was that. It was keeping that boundary and letting them see it was kind, it was gentle, but it was a definite boundary. I am not going to talk to you right now. To this day, if my kids see that I'm doing yoga or I'm doing my morning routine, they let me have that time. And it's been a process of training them. I've had this morning routine for like 10 years. It's been a process of training them to see what, that I am putting this in place and this is what I have in place. But also, I think being really open with your kids to the level that they understand, like, hey, mom needs this time right now. Later, we're going to play. We're going to have a Pokemon battle. It's going to be awesome. But right now, mom needs this time to do what is important to her, and then we're going to have so much fun later. I think that the more that we can kind of tie in what it's going to do for us and show them that we matter. I ended up one of the, as a creator yourself, one of the things that you do is name things. And for a long time, I've had this name in my mind. Maybe I'll write a book someday. Moms are people too. And I think that is the concept that we need our kids to understand. They don't understand. When children are very young, they think of themselves as an extension of us. They don't even know that we're two separate people. And as they grow, they realize that we're older people. I mean, we're a separate person, but they often still think that we are there for them. We're there to serve them. And we can choose to perpetuate that, or we can say, I am here as a whole person. And because I love you, I'm going to help you. But creating this boundary is actually so much more empowering and freeing for them because it allows them to do it themselves and to create a whole generation that isn't going to have all this mom guilt and all the things that we've talked about because they've seen it and this is just how it's done.
I love that, and I love how you are making it very clear that it's matter of them seeing that it's okay to hold healthy boundaries, it's okay to be firm and kind. And then the other one is that I always say too is it doesn't matter how much we told them to love themselves and take care of themselves. If they are watching us not taking care of ourselves, not loving ourselves, putting everybody else first, no matter how much we told them otherwise, what they are going to learn in their heart, in their cellular level is that is how I have to behave. That is how mom did it. I have to be last. I have to put everybody else first. And that is fascinating. I cannot believe that the time is getting close to the end of the show. Chanel, thank you so much for being here, sharing with us your wisdom. As we start wrapping up, I would love for you if you have one key message for the more than 1 million people that are watching us right now, moms around the world, what that message will be for them. And then if they fall in love with you and want to learn more from you, how they can connect with you as well.
Okay. Well, my message is just let yourself do something for yourself and let it be small. We often think that I remember when I was young, I would just tell my husband, I just need a break. I just need a break, right? And then he would take the kids and I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I would wander around Target, like looking what's on sale. I don't even know what I want to do. And so, what I would encourage you to do is take the time to see what you need and then make it a regular daily occurrence to get just a little bit of what you need every day. That is going to make you such a better mom. It's going to make you happier. It's going to give you some of what you've been missing and get out of that overwhelm cycle that we get caught in so easily as moms. To your second question, I would say to go check out my book. So, I recently published my eighth book, which is called Stop Putting Yourself Last. It's all about the things that we've talked about today. It's about really specifically how to get time for yourself, how to create these habits, how to make it work, even if you've got babies or lots of kids or lots of extenuating hard circumstances. And you can get that at bit.ly, so bit.ly/mom life book. It's called Stop Putting Yourself Last. And that is my main message. Just stop putting yourself last. You don't have to be last.
Thank you so much. So if you fall in love with Chanel, go at bit.ly/mom life and then get her book,
Mom
Stop
Life Book/Mom Life Book.
My Life book, and then get her book, Stop Putting Yourself Last. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And also, if you are not following me yet, go to Joe Unicorn Coach. Make sure that you are following me for all the news and updatings in our lives and our things. If you follow there, I will put Chanel's book in the comments on the social media so you can have access to it very easy. And closing the show, amazing, wonderful, inspirational thing. Thank you as a mom of one to see that a mom of five is rocking it, and not only rocking it on herself, but also showing other moms what is possible. It is been a pleasure and an honor to be with you today. For everybody that is watching us around the world, thank you for watching us. We love having your feedback. We love to hear what you want to hear more about, see more about, or learn more about. So keep engaging, keep sharing with us. We are here to serve you. We are here to help you to win the marathon of motherhood without going into burnout. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.